On June 27th, a group of lights flickering over the ocean were witnessed from San Diego and Tijuana. They appeared and disappeared and slowly descended into the ocean, dozens of miles off the coast. But there quickly became a controversy over an explanation because
the Coast Guard told ABC 10 News they believe the Navy was conducting flare training with expired flares.
So that's strange because some spy planes were launched almost immediately after the sightings, and they did circles around the area where the flares or UFOs were spotted. So it's time to dig deeper into this because somebody is wrong, and one part of the government is disagreeing with the other. So thanks for joining us for another episode of Off-World UFO Report. Late in the evening on June 27th, Twitter user Gabe Gunlock, among many others in San Diego and Tijuana, and as far south as Rosarito and Mexicali, all saw the same thing. Various lights, up to 6, appearing and disappearing, flickering as they hovered over the ocean. It's believed that they were about 25 to 30 miles out, but that is an estimated number. However, they were visible up to 25 or 30 miles inland. So it's possible that they were flares, because flares can be seen up to 25 or 30 miles away, the best ones. We're going to look at some flares a bit later, and we're going to look at different views of the witnesses. Here's a different view from the Mexican side of the border, and he's counting as they appear. They were visible for at least an hour. Some say 2 hours. The news said 20 minutes, and I think they may have been mistaken. And they move really slow, seemingly unaffected by the wind. But they are slowly descending, although you can't tell it unless I show you the time lapse, which I'm going to show you next. Flares are visible for a few minutes at most, so it's difficult to justify that explanation. So let's look at the time lapse. This is inconclusive to me. It's very difficult to say what's going on because these are behaving like flares, I would think. So I'm undecided. But just in this time lapse, we've seen 24 of these lights descend.
They always say, look to the skies, you might find something you're not aware of.
Mystery lights in the sky Monday night, seen across San Diego
they're just appearing.
and Tijuana, that left everyone with the same question. What is that? ABC 10 News reporter Sofia Hernandez talked to people who witnessed that spectacle and uncovers what the lights could really be.
This was something different. It just was, and it felt something different too.
Natasha Reichert and her mother Donna were taking a late night stroll when they saw 2 pulsating lights in the sky.
What do you?
Oh, I definitely thought it wasn't from here.
They raced back to their perch that overlooks La Jolla. They compared the lights to a plane, a boat, and were unsure of what it could be.
And these were coming back and going, moving different directions, and then all of a sudden getting clustered together, and Yeah, it was just not, it was definitely not of this world.
The lights could be seen all across San Diego, even from Federico Buren's home in Rosarito, Mexico.
It caught my attention and I decided to start recording this to analyze it later.
Federico says he thought it had to do with the military.
I'm very realistic. I don't believe in those conspiracy theories or anything like that. I just want an explanation to find out what's going on.
While others say the flashing lights that stayed in the sky for roughly 20 minutes can't be explained.
Realistically, if they were flares, you would see them flickering. These were not flickering. They were not moving, and there was a light breeze. So if that was a flare, they would be moving.
The San Diego Fire Department told ABC 10 News that the flares could be seen 5 miles offshore. They believe the orange glow was flares. The Coast Guard told ABC 10 News they believe the Navy was conducting flare training with expired flares. A Coast Guard spokesperson said the reason the flares stayed in the sky is so that distress signals can be seen. However, ABC 10 News is still awaiting confirmation from the Navy to make sure this phenomenon was just an earthly coincidence.
I felt, awesome that we got to be able to see it, whatever it was.
Sophia Hernandez, ABC 10 News.
So let's take a look at some flares. All of these are rocket parachute flares, and they fall quite quickly in general. They have a smoke trail on the way down, and they look a certain way when you zoom in. So observe the flashing. They tend to drift. Here you can see a bit of the smoke in the trail as it falls, and they have a meandering path, as you see. And when they go out, you can usually see some sparks and smoke. So this is what it looks like zoomed in. Honestly, this looks like a lot of UFO sightings. There's so many UFO sightings where, people don't know what they are, but that's what they look like. So I wouldn't doubt that a lot of the UFO videos on the net are actually flares. It's very possible. Except when they're stationary in the air. So a stationary object is suspicious. Now let's look at another video of a flare. So this one you can very clearly see the smoke trail and the blinking of the flame. The flame never totally disappears. That's notable. Here's a bunch of other flares. So here you can really see the smoke. And it's very clear that these are man-made and quickly descending, possibly with parachutes. Yeah, that looks like parachutes. This video is from Bermuda, and we have a flare with a smoke trail descending in probably about 2 or 3 minutes. And there's no mistaking the smoke, and it seems pretty obvious. There's this drift. It doesn't stay stationary. It doesn't move in a straight line. Now these ones, this set of flares is the most similar to what we saw off the coast of San Diego. Watch, it's been launched, and They appear consecutively, which is what we saw over San Diego and Tijuana. You see what I mean? And these are similar to the video that was taken over the South China Sea. I'll show that video next. Our friend Chris Leto debunked the South China Sea video, which you see here, as flares. This one seems pretty open and shut, except for the altitude, which we don't know. They're behaving exactly like the flares we just saw, but they're traveling really far and they're above the clouds, which is odd. But they're behaving exactly like flares, so it's kind of hard to say what they are. There's been some videos over India where similar objects appeared with this kind of rolling appearance. So let's take another look at one of the San Diego videos. Look at the consistency of the lights. They are flickering. They aren't burning. That's beyond dispute. That's not the same as the flares. Here, we're looking at them, they look pretty stationary. We don't see the smoke behind them as they fall, and they're falling in just an unbelievably slow manner. Then one appears quite a ways above the first three, which is, oh, well, hey. This is not the same as the way the flares appeared. They're further apart, and we don't really have a good scale to measure how far they are apart, but it's hard to say that these are flares. What I would say is, if they are flares, they are the absolute best flares. They are state-of-the-art because they practically don't move. They descend over like 20 or 30 minutes, which is not what happens with a parachute. So these flares would have to have some source of lift because they are defying gravity.
What exactly were those strange lights seen off the coast by a number of CBS 8 viewers?
Yeah, our Jenny Day is looking into it. She's live in the newsroom with what she's found out. Jenny?
Yeah, so far tonight, no reported sightings, but people are still talking about what they saw last night. The UFOs, military flares, whatever they were, remain unconfirmed. The best answer yet is that it was some kind of military exercise. That's what lifeguards told San Diego police. But I called Camp Pendleton and Naval Air Station North Island. Both said they had no idea. I also made a call to MCAS Miramar and the Coast Guard. We received a lot of calls into our newsroom last night from the South Bay to North County. Dan Hare from Encinitas says he never saw any kind of aircraft. He says there were initially 2 dots, then up to 6. They would blink on and off, and it lasted about an hour.
But I've never seen anything in my life that lasted that long. You see these little, maybe flashes of lights through the sky, and you think that you saw one, but to me, it felt very real. And I was just blown away, and I kind of yelled at some of my close-by neighbors. I said, "Get out here."
Yeah, there were even rumors the bright lights in the sky were all in preparation for Imperial Beach's upcoming 4th of July drone show. But the city confirmed today the drones for that show won't arrive until Thursday and the operator the next day. So when we get confirmation, we'll of course bring you that update. Live from the newsroom, Jenny Day, CBS 8.
Okay, so they're not drones. They may be flares, but let's look at the Navy practice area off the coast of San Diego and Tijuana. So if we look closely here, the green areas are where the Navy trains. And I'm going to put up our scale so we can measure about how far off the coast those training areas are. And it's about 30 nautical miles. So if we imagine that these flares would have been launched about anywhere from 35 to 40 miles off the coast, if they were during a Navy training mission, they wouldn't be visible from the coast, and they definitely wouldn't be visible inland. So it's highly doubtful that these were flares from a Navy training exercise. Putting the flare theory in further doubt is that there were witnesses in Mexicali that said they saw the flares or the UFOs. And Mexicali is about 30 miles from the coast. Another piece of the puzzle was added by Tercer Milenio, a television station ran by Jaime Maussan, a Mexican reporter. I'm going to translate a bit of what Jaime says here. So, since the event on the 27th, the US, even an hour after the incident, began flying spy planes in circles around the area where the lights were seen. What do they hope to discover? What are they investigating? Do they hope that the phenomenon will happen again in order to survey the phenomenon? It's extraordinary what's happening, and I'm going to give you all the details. Now we're presenting the results of our investigation through artificial intelligence. The evidence from Tijuana on the night of the 27th revealed the real form and structure of the objects that produced the intense shining. It was generated by the plasma that surrounded them. The extraordinary shine emitted, which was visible hundreds of kilometers from the coast. Josue Hernandez, a resident of Tijuana, shared an image taken with a telescope. The great reach of this device allowed him to obtain a clear and sharp image of one of the objects, which remained static for more than an hour over the sea. Josue Hernandez, using artificial intelligence, he found that in the nucleus there was something that seemed like a black polyhedron that curiously didn't emit light. With a stabilized take, it allowed us to show surprisingly that the object is surrounded by energy. Could be plasma that rotates counterclockwise. Observe this still image that allows us to discard the theory that these were flares. They have a short duration. Once thrown into the air, they reach a determined altitude and descend. These lights over Tijuana stayed stationary for more than an hour. To compound the mystery around these events, various users of real-time flight trackers, which track commercial and military flights, reported that a jet used by the Customs and Border Patrol flew over the zone where the lights were seen an hour after the sighting. The plane was identified Beechcraft King Air 350, did various turns in the area, and returned to San Diego after midnight. The next day at 3:45, another spy plane used by the US, a Boeing RC-135 belonging to the Navy, went into a series of turns around the Mexican area of the ocean. In both cases, the planes were looking for something unusual in the zone. Their behavior indicates that those objects did not belong to the United States, and they caused worry in the armed forces. So it's a very mysterious situation. These lights were seen from up to 50 miles away. They were static for 30 minutes to an hour, and the Navy has not responded to disprove.
Okay, we're back. There's now 5.
That this was a UFO sighting.
We are totally, Ryan and I are absolutely freaking out, dude. We do not know what this is over Point Loma. This is a video live. You guys can see this is the airport facing west. They've had 2 groups. Now there's 5. It's definitely some sort of pattern-ish thing going on. Bright orange lights. It does not look like white lighting. And you'll notice the bottom left one just went out. You can see from the top right of the screen there's a plane flying. Clearly a plane. And that bottom right one went out.
So they don't go out like flares.
What's weird is they're so static, dude. I mean, could they be drones with super bright lights on them?
And they're not drones because the city already confirmed that the drone operator was not showing up yet. Besides that, drones don't operate over the ocean for the most part, at least not for that long. Drones can stay up in the air for half an hour. Some military ones can do a lot longer than that, but we haven't heard anything that would suggest that's the case.
Definitely pulsating. Right?
That's exactly right. Flares don't pulsate. They get brighter and they get dimmer, but they don't go out and come back on and flicker like that. So it's mysterious, and there's no explanation yet. Not one that's satisfactory. And then with the time lapse, we see that there's 24 total. This seems like similar behavior like what happened with the Nimitz. In that case, there was various Tic Tacs that descended from space, and some of them went into the ocean. It's not the same shape. They tend to look different at night, it seems. But your guess is as good as mine. But the US government does not know what these are. Otherwise, they would not have sent planes to investigate. And we're going to look at the flight path again. This is what you do when something is unidentified. You send spy planes to fly over the area. And this is not a small area. Notice that the second plane, Snoop 46, goes out almost 40 miles. So Catalina Island is 22 miles out. They are twice as far as Catalina Island, doing a 30-mile loop. So the Navy still hasn't said anything after a week, and you know if they had been doing a training, they would have knocked this down immediately. So they launched 2 flights searching for wreckage or for a replay. I think we have our answer. Join us next time on the Off-World UFO Report.
I can't believe they considered that to be a UFO.